meeting to order. If you would join me for a moment of silence. And then if you could join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sherry, if you would do roll call for us, please.
Erica Connor.
Here.
Joel Fredericks.
Here.
Neil Porter.
Here.
Art Schneider. Here. Peter Schwartz.
Here.
Carolyn Simon.
Not here. Excused.
Craig Wirtz.
Here.
Steve Waddles.
On Zoom. Steve, can you hear us?
Here, yep.
Wonderful.
Sherry Winchowski here. You don't have her.
Okay, this is an open meeting and has been appropriately noticed. So I am going to actually start the meeting out with a board president report regarding our citizens comment policy. I just want to talk about it real quick before we get into citizens comments, which we're going to do that. And I want to bring the attention to everyone simply because we have changed the citizens comment form. If you're here, if you signed in, you'll notice that it is a little bit different. We changed it in order to accurately reflect our policy, which does state that our citizens comments are limited to residents living within the Mukwonago Area School District or parents of current students. So if you have students open enrolled into the district, comments are available to you as well. That the item that you are to speak on or coming to speak on has to be on our action items for the agenda. So just a reminder, it's also going to be useful for me because in the past we've had citizens come and speak and we have their names, but I can't follow up with them because I can't find their email and their address. So we did change that form. So just a reminder, and just to let you know that we did change and update that. So it's a reminder, it is for the citizens of this district, as well as open enroll families. That being said, we are actually going to move into citizens comments. Do we have any? Yeah. So I see that both of the citizens that signed up to speak wanted to speak on SEL, which is not on tonight's agenda. I'm happy to hang on to this. If we have time at the end of the meeting and we want to have a discussion later, we can, but these are neither are on here, so I apologize. So we're going to move forward. We are actually going to mix up the order a little bit today. We are going to go to committee reports in just a minute. I'm going to jump down to the consent agenda, and we will come back to the strategic plan update. So I am looking for consent for the approval of the school board meeting minutes of May 23rd, 2022 and June 20th, 2022, as well as the approval of vouchers of 137,378 to 137,910 in the amount of 4.1 million and change, and receipts for May 2022 totaling in 1.5 million roughly. Do I have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, they are approved by consent. So I will move to Student Learning Committee first. If Cherry, you'd like to give us your update?
I am not into my computer. Can we do the next report?
Yes, we will come back to you. Personnel Committee.
Steve's coming up. We don't have to vote in the minutes, right?
Just go through what you
So, Personnel Committee, we discussed elementary school security. We talked about school resource officers at the elementary school. If it made sense, everyone thinks it makes sense, but can we afford it? And it was sent to the full board for discussion. Community education update. Steve, you want to jump in anytime, please do.
Sure, thank you.
Why don't you jump in for the community education coordinator update, Steve?
Awesome. Christy Beyer joined the Mukwonago Area School District as our incoming community ed coordinator. She has a uniquely rich background in community education, as she is program management for Center for Enrichment at Clement Manor Retirement Community. She has been growing a program with over 400 members. She prepares an annual budget and runs over 200 programs, has 15 instructors. We're extremely lucky to get somebody like that. I also like to thank Bob Slane for his efforts as the community education coordinator and his many years serving within the district and former principal at Section Elementary.
Any questions on that? Superintendent search update, initial planning meeting with BWP and Associates. Do we have that in the calendar?
So before our finance, we will start that in July, I believe on the 18th, before our finance committee meeting.
It's actually on the 8th.
Thank you, 8th. I knew there was an 8th.
8th at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. And then we had a Neola policy review. We went through them with Steve in depth. Really not much changes there. Steve, anything you want to add to that?
I would just add that a lot of these policies that we look at, the non-discrimination for genetic factors, as well as 504 Americans with Disability Act, those policies are unique in that they outline a process for if there is a complaint, how we would address it in a thoughtful, thorough manner. The other thing that I would point out, particularly with regards to the drug-free workplace, is that some parts of that can, simply being off of campus and not being during the school hours, folks can still, especially if they're posting things on social media and it creates an issue for the school to be able to conduct its business, that can become problematic. And so that's in the policy. It is unique. Again, social media is a unique force within our lives.
Anything else for you?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, and then we did have a school board, we had a work session on June 20th. The full board was present, and we were able to hear and listen to a number of reports from our administrators. We looked at our school capacity report and reviewed that and where we are and what that looks like within our buildings and when we may hit capacity, looking at our long-range population study, which was completed back in February, just what does the future potentially hold, in order to help facilitate a discussion on facility studies and what we may or may not need to do with building size. So we will be continuing having these long-range planning discussion meetings. We have another board meeting coming up to discuss our priorities as a board, as well as next steps on what that looks like moving forward with any potential changes at all. So that was kind of our board work session, talking about Parkview Middle School, maybe being 6th through 8th, 4K into the new building. So we're gonna start to identify some priorities in all of that. And then we also had our Finance and Facility Committee meeting following right after that. And if Joel.
Yep. We discussed health insurance, which we've got an action item later on for that one. Tom did some budgets updates as well as some surplus budget that we've got and what we're going to do with that. We discussed a Lily and Rose contract, which there's been some other developments since we even had our meeting last week. So that some changes there. We got another action item about 4K pay rates. We got an action item for that one as well. And then we were in executive session as well.
Okay, so I think we moved a little bit faster than we were anticipating with those.
I'm ready when you're ready.
Okay, you're ready, Chair? Okay, go ahead. Learning Committee.
Okay, we discussed the art curriculum, and Amy, pronounce that for me,
Cradaville.
came and shared with us the work that they had done on that. It was a new adoption last year, but they had tweaked it, and it was an excellent presentation. Stephanie discussed the fact that we were not represented in the U.S. News and World Report ranking because of a glitch in the DPI, yeah?
In reporting, yep.
Yeah. And we discussed the 6th grade author study. The K-6 social studies pilots for 2022 and 23 will take place this year. A committee is being formed for the human growth and development. We're going to study that and see if there's any updates needed for our curriculum on that. And we discussed some Neola policies, but there were no changes.
Max and Mark, I'd like to make a clarifying or ask you guys a question. Is that why you came to speak today? Because you saw the human growth and development on there and the We Thinkers for 4K? I wanted to make sure that we're communicating well. That's one of them. I feel, yeah. Do you want to take your 2 minutes? Okay, we're going to move back to that. Seeing it on the agenda, I want to make sure that you guys have the opportunity, seeing that you came. We do see citizens' comments for our action items, but I want to make sure we don't confuse that. So I'm going to let you come on up and speak to the human growth and development part of your citizens' comments if you would like.
Good evening. Just wanted to touch base with everybody here regarding human growth and development, that citizens, that concerned parents are also included in that committee, that they do have a voice, that they're listened to, and especially people that have a lot of experience in it and may have taught that class previously, that they be included in it, that they can give insight into the curriculum and if it's appropriate or not, and age appropriate. Because I believe it should be broken down by age and how appropriate it is by age. We want to make sure that we don't overreach in that curriculum, that we're not teaching the wrong thing, that we're teaching the right thing. We're not going about, as we've heard through social media and through just about everything there is, that sometimes in the human growth and development programs, there are some explicit things that are shared with children. We want to make sure that that's not part of it. We want to make sure that it is very scientific, that it is very informative, and not explicit. So that's all I really wanted to say. And I want to implore the board to include certain citizens that can have insight into it with their knowledge base. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then I will go back up. Can we start a strategic plan?
We can.
Okay. Yep.
So in the spring, summer of 2019, just want to remind the board that we put together a committee of board members, parents, residents, teachers, and administration to put together a strategic plan that the school board voted on in September of 2019. District administration has been providing updates on a regular basis for the board regarding this, so this continues the practice. Tonight we are going to hear from Christine Bowden on our mental health part of our plan, and then also Dustin Lehman will be here to talk about the college and career readiness. Then next month, Ben and I will be presenting on the learning goals, and Stephen will be presenting on the retention of staff. So I'm going to invite Christine up to start her part of the presentation.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Christine.
Hi. So thank you for being here tonight. So this is my June strategic plan update. Stephanie kind of stole my whole first part that I rehearsed for all of you about our history of our strategic plan. So I'm just going to leap in here and talk about doing our comprehensive school mental health system and what we're looking at pulling together as a K-12 system. So as we're looking into next school year, we want to, right now when I present information to the school board, I am generally presenting some pieces from the elementary, some pieces from the middle, and some pieces from the high school, which I'll continue to do. But what I would like us to start doing is marrying our elementary and our high school so that we are looking systematically K-12 at what we are doing to help support our students and grow our students. I believe that the work we will do will continue to build a positive school climate. Everybody will benefit from having a clear understanding across the system. We're able to improve access to and quality of mental health supports that can be data-driven. So currently right now, and I will show you this again tonight, some of the data that we've collected over the course of the school year regarding mental health and alcohol and drugs and vaping. We'll be able to talk about early intervention. So what are our warning signs and red flags, and when do our kids start signaling that they need some additional support from us? And then also we'll be able to talk about and identify student data from the student level, the school level, and then the district level on the resources that we are putting into mental health. And I'll actually talk about that in just a little bit here towards the end of what we have done so far. So components of a successful comprehensive mental health system include the continuum of supports, working together collaboratively, and again, as a systems piece, so really getting our elementary people talking to our high school people and our middle school who have a connection from that 6th to 7th grade, and then that 8th to 9th grade being always part of the conversation. We'll start to talk about and nail down mental health referral pathways, look at our sustainability. So when I talk about what we have done so far as a system, we'll talk about what does the long-term outlook look like for being able to continue to put some of these pieces into play. And then again, we'll talk about data. So the next slide, really at the strategic plan, the core of some of the data collection tools are the pupil services mental health that we track. Some of that information includes students who have had suicidal thoughts, have had self-harm, received intensive or inpatient treatment or outpatient treatment. We'll talk about discipline data, the Gals Institute, the GED program, which I'm super excited about, had a great first year, and then also our SOAR graduation, and then our district response to some of the data that we're going to talk about tonight. So the first piece that I'm going to review is the mental health data. So what I do is I take, every building keeps track of the number of incidents of concern that a student has. So if, say, a student is reporting that they are cutting or self-harming, every building keeps track of that data, and then at the end of mid-year and then at the end of the year I take that data and I put it together. So looking at the graph that's up there, you can see from last year, from 2021, and then from 21-22, there is a significant increase among our students for mental health concerns. And I will talk, as I always do in closed session, a little bit more in depth about some of the trends we're seeing there. The next piece is looking at our GALS on-site support. So if you recall, about a year ago, it would have been, it's almost been a year and a half now, we created a partnership with the Gals Institute in Delafield. And so at that time, from April to June, we had, through the mental health grant, gotten a mental health navigator. And so that person's role is to be the liaison between the school and then the mental health community. And so, and then we also have, that person also will see students on site for brief therapy sessions. And so from April and June of 2021, we saw 26 students. And from July of 21 until the end of this school year, 43 students received counseling services, and an additional 52 also saw the mental health navigator. So the resources that are being provided, the kids are using and our families are using. I also think it's really important to point out that the community education events that we did offer this year, we had 225 people register for the Journey to Resilience, which was awesome. And then we had 90 register for the Screenagers, which was really about social media and the impact that social media has on anxiety and depression in our students. So really a great turnout.
Are we going to continue with that?
You betcha. Yeah, for sure.
Christine, is
yeah.
there a crossover between the 43 and the 52, or is that a total of 97 kids?
Let me go back. It's a total.
Of 97?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. As we move on to AODA, and actually, Cherry, just to
Again? Please, sorry.
those numbers, Cherry, do not include Cornerstone, though.
Okay.
So this is specifically to the Gals Institute.
Specific.
Cornerstone last year saw about 11 students on site.
Okay, so that would be in addition to the.
Yeah, so about 100 plus 110 students are getting services on site. All right, the next piece that we're going to look at is our AODA related disciplinary concerns and events that occurred this last school year. So if we're looking between the 2021 school year and the 21-22 school year, you can see we have a significant increase in the amount of students who have had alcohol or drug-related incidents. I do want to really point out that the high school jump, I think a big difference between the 2021 and the 21-22 school year is that we installed vape detection systems in the bathrooms, and so we knew it would go off when we knew kids were vaping in the bathroom, and so our high school administration was incredibly responsive, and because of that, I think our numbers responded to the fact that we had put something in place. And
Christine, is 71 the number of kids, or is it 20 that were there multiple times?
71 individuals, 71 different, it could be one student multiple times, but when I was running through the list, I took out most duplicates.
Thank you.
And Parkview is so excited that they are putting vape detection systems in all of their bathrooms. So we'll have those installed by the fall, so they'll be plenty busy. And I do want to talk a little bit, I'll come back to that around the AODA, the Parkview information from the 4 to 7, because I do think it's significant. We'll talk about that later. Terry, did you have questions?
My numbers are different. Am I looking at the wrong thing? AODA related disciplinary incidents.
So we updated it at the end of the day, so I don't know if you need to refresh.
Apparently I need to refresh.
Just,
You are
you just take a second and refresh.
Hours behind.
Okay. So we'll talk a little bit more about your choice. So if you guys recall, I had brought in that we would be doing a AODA course through your choice. It's called Detour, and so kids who had a first-time offense were allowed to enroll into the Detour class in lieu of a suspension, in lieu of a day of suspension. And so the kids were going to an 8-hour class on a Saturday. There's a 2-hour mandatory parent component. And if you look at the graph that's up on the screen, you can see that from 2021 and 21-22, we really don't have very many students taking advantage of the opportunity. And I'm not sure if the barrier is the transportation piece, if it's because it's on a weekend, if, what it is. And so we can break down barriers, and so we are going to bring the student assistance program on site next year, so they will come to the high school 4 times, once each quarter, so that students can be educated and have alternative proactive ways to engage in some good education about alcohol and drugs and vaping in particular. And so we can take down the barrier of a Saturday, and instead of them being suspended from school, they can do that during the school day. So I will be very curious to see how that will impact. It also can be used for code violations. So that is also an opportunity to educate our coaches. And I've talked with Andy Trudell also. So I think it has some really good potential. I do want to point out though that when we're looking at the violations, they start at ages 12 and 13. So, which tells me that that's 7th grade. So we need to be thinking about what we're telling our 6th graders, because if they're vaping in 7th grade, they're probably seeing it in 6th grade, would be my thought.
So if you bring this on site, does that remove the parent component if you're doing it during the day on site?
It shouldn't, no.
Okay.
So the completion is dependent on the parents having to participate.
Okay, great.
So
Do you think that that is part of the difference, the problem? And so that was my question too, was you think if the kids could come without their parents, more kids would come? It's the first question. Second question is, you said it could help for coaches and things like that, so would they do the parent part?
let me pick that apart. So the first part, parents don't come to the 8 hours. Parents have a separate 2-hour meeting.
Right.
So
But you said it's mandatory for them to
It is.
complete it. So do you think if that mandatory piece was not there, that more of the kids would come and get the information
And help.
and help?
Kids can take the class anytime. They don't have to have an offense to take a class. So say I have a lot of, I think I'm answering your question, if I have a lot of concerns about a student that I think might not be making the best choices, I could ask them to take the class. I could offer the class to them.
And would their parent, in that case, would the parents have to come?
They wouldn't have to.
So it's in the cases of where there's been a situation that they're using this in place of, that's when the parents have to come for the 2-hour
Yes,
mandatory?
in lieu of a suspension.
For that to count for that, otherwise.
Correct. Most of the parent feedback has been very positive. Like it was way more educational. Like I think they were concerned maybe there would just be like a compliance piece about it, but the feedback I've heard from parents has been very positive.
Well, I'm just thinking of the kids whose parents may choose not to come and then they are not able to get the information. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking.
I think in most of those cases, I think there's probably some pretty good relationships built within the building that can work through those individual circumstances. And Detour has been good about doing a virtual aspect. Like it didn't have to be in person. They could do it like a meeting online. So if it was hard to find daycare or whatever it might be, they try really hard to bring down barriers.
Okay. And then you're saying it would be good for coaches. So that's the same as the kids. They can come anytime. So they can.
Coaches can, like if a student had a violation, they could use that as a code, as part of the code violation.
I see.
So that part I don't want to talk a ton about because that's really, Andy is much more informed about the code than I am, athletic code.
Okay.
So, okay. Stephanie, I think you did some. You just advanced the slide. All right. Then on to the JITO 2 program. As you guys know, yeah, go back a slide. The JITO 2 program was implemented this last fall. We were really excited about it, kind of nervous too. We'd never done it before. And so it has pretty strict criteria. We were able to graduate 23 students during the 21-22 school year during the using the JITO 2 program. Paige Reckie and Jody Jonas have done a fabulous job getting that program up and running. And I really believe we would not have gotten those 23 students graduated if we hadn't had two very dynamic people working with students to get over the finish line. We also successfully graduated an additional 13 students from SOAR. So since SOAR opened its doors in 1819, we've had 57 graduates so far. So I wanted to address, as we look at all of the mental health concerns that have been coming up and just the mental health, everything that you see in the news, everything that you hear, I wanted to take a moment to think about how has the district responded to the rise in the mental health needs. So what have we done? What part have we taken on? And so on the next slide, you're going to see the services that we have offered since 1819 moving forward into next school year. So as you look at them, you can see that in 1819, we increased the pupil services staff at the elementary level. In 1920, if you just follow that blue arrow all the way across, you'll be able to see that we added that 0.5 social worker to SOAR. We added a counselor, an additional counselor to Clarendon and Eagleville. And then in 21-22, we added an additional elementary psychologist. The Cornerstone Counseling was implemented in 1819 on site, and that's continued. So when the arrows just continue to move to the right, it just means that those services are, like SOAR opened in 1819, it's continuing to be open. In April of 21, we started the Mental Health Navigator. That will be something that we continue to do next year, meaning that liaison will still be back from GALS again. We actually started the new person in the spring because they turn over every year as they're getting their clinical hours. And if need be, then we will add an additional day this year so that more students can be seen. I think one of the biggest frustrations I hear from our families and from our students and staff is that it's really hard to get in anywhere. The wait lists are generally like 6 to 8 months to get in for an evaluation, and our kids are waiting anywhere from 3 to 6 months to get in to see somebody. And so the mental health navigator and then that role that GALS plays with us helps free up resources for our students. At the top then, I'll just kind of start walking through these. So the Lives in the Balance is some professional development we brought in this last school year. It really, the core of it is really talking about challenging behavior and how we give students the skills to be successful and not seeing it so much as a behavior problem as it is a lagging skill and what skill do they need to get to that next step. And so we started that training last summer, and then our pupil services staff continued it this school year, and then we're expanding it into a district-wide piece in August. We continued this school year. We started offering the grief services for staff after we've had a couple of tragedies in our district. The Healing Hearts has always been a great resource for our school district. In particular, Melissa McKinley also runs a grief center, and we have made sessions available free of charge to our staff members. The community education piece, Art, to your question, we started those Your Choice presentations, I think even prior to 18-19, but we will continue to do those. We've switched from the Your Choice this last year to GALS, and we'll probably go back and do some things with Your Choice again. We're trying to figure out how to get that community education component at a time when our parents might already naturally be somewhere and still have that as an option for them to go see, like where can we partner up. So we're working on that. And then I talked about the AODA. We'll continue to do the GEDO 2 program again next year. And then we will also, in July 25th, actually, we are putting together a mental health training. One of the areas I feel that we can work to improve on is that we have so many awesome employees in our buildings, including like our custodians and our food service and our bus drivers, and they're often like the first point of contact for our kids during the school day. And yet we don't always provide them the same professional development opportunities that we provide our staff. And so they will have an opportunity on July 25th to come in and learn about mental health, signs, symptoms, ways to intervene if they need to, and so that will be a 3-hour training. I just put it out this week, and I already have 37 people who signed up, and I've gotten like a really good response from like everybody who's written back, like, am I gonna be one of the 50 people that are selected? I was like, well, it's first come, first serve, but we'll do as many as we can until everybody can go through. So I'm really excited about that. So this last slide is really just talking about some of those pieces I already kind of talked about in our continued services. So we'll continue to do the work around challenging behaviors, student behaviors, professional development for our staff around mental health. So the youth mental health first aid is a professional development. We sent 2 of our full-time school psychologists to that training, and they're like trainers of training now, so they can train small groups. Again, talks all about the different components of mental health, and then we can share that with our individual staff in different buildings. We'll continue to work through some of the pieces that we do is offer nonviolent crisis intervention training, which is really also a lot about de-escalating challenging behaviors. We already actually did a professional training this summer in June. Our paraprofessionals came in, and we offered a half-day boot camp on fostering independence and working with our students on executive functioning skills for organization. I talked about the mental health training in July for non-teaching staff. In the past, when I was looking back at my last presentation, I talked about our mentor program that we put in place for our paraprofessionals for special education, because we have such a high turnover rate. The paraprofessionals that were hired at our elementary level this last school year, we had 100% retention. And I think that was huge. It was a big part of it. Chris Agan is our program support coordinator at the elementary level, and she had, her and M. Weber had worked on rolling that out with our new paras, and I think it's made a big difference. It makes them feel valued. I think it's given our people that are currently our employees feel valued also, that they are selected to be a professional mentor for somebody else. And then this fall, Stephanie and I will be working with staff at the secondary level around trauma-informed care, and I can keep you up to date on that. Do you guys have any questions for me? That was a lot. And you're stuck with me in the executive session too, sorry.
All right.
I think we asked him as we went, so thank you.
All right, well then I will hand it on over to Dustin.
Thank you, Christine.
How'd the game go, Dustin?
Well, I left a little early. It was a little shaky. At the U8 level, coach pitches, there's no walk, so the coach pitches, they step in when there's 4 balls. and I'm the coach that pitches. So let's say my ERA went down tonight, so that's not a good sign.
Didn't hit any batters or anything?
I didn't hit any girls, but the girls couldn't hit off of me, so that's the issue. So I came dressed to impress tonight. Hopefully my electric green shirt doesn't distract you. So I am here tonight to talk about our initiatives around college and career readiness, and our goal of equipping all students with the opportunities and skills necessary to determine and pursue their desired post-graduation plans. So as you can see, our year one goal was to have 25% of our graduates have an industry recognized certification, and we met that goal at 26.5%. And then in June of 21, those seniors of the year 2020, we missed out on all of those certifications. So we dropped down a little bit, but we have recovered quite nicely. These certifications are due to the state September 30th. So I'm still getting certifications in. I do have teachers that still report certifications when they come back in August and early September. But as of right now, I'm at 263 certifications. So as you can see, in 2020, when our results were fairly high, I was at 165. So now I'm already up at 263. I don't believe we will hit the 50% mark like we had shot for, because many of those certifications, we have students who have multiple certifications. So we may have a gentleman in the tech ed area that earns 6 certifications, and we may have a female in healthcare or computer science that is earning 4 or 5. So that's why the numbers are higher than what you would think 50% of our typical 400 in a class graduation would be. So we are off to a great start. However, I don't have exact numbers, but I will have those in September for you all. So as you can see, our goal was to hit 50% of our graduating seniors. And these are the ones that we implemented this year. ProStart, that's in our culinary. So we have changed that now from a semester to a full year. So we are excited. We have 2 sections of that class, so that has grown. Our Ask certifications are through marketing, so we added that. We have changed where we do our CNA certification. That's through Gateway, and the students earn a 2-credit technical diploma. So that is also a industry recognized certification as recognized by the state of Wisconsin. And we have also added Fusion 360, which is some of our 3D modeling with our engineering kids. As you can see on the bottom, some of the certifications that we are still bringing in. We have Jason Winke, our new manufacturing teacher as of last year. He's going to some trainings this summer so that he can add in the advanced manufacturing, such as a FANUC certified robot operator and the SACA manufacturing certs. We do have a new set of computer science certifications that we will be offering. And then the one I'm really excited about is our Career Connections Level 3. That's with construction. So we will be offering that to all 48 of our students that are signed up for construction, as well as our students that are signed up for building trades. So that's another 60 students that will be getting another certification. And that's a guaranteed certification just by passing the class. They don't have to take an exam or anything for that. All we had to do was buy the book, so that is a win-win situation for the district and our students. Okay, so the way that we're trying to meet this goal, I'll go through these 5 steps in these next slides. So assessing and refining the 6 through 12 ACP process. Again, we do that K through 12. With K through 5, our counselors down at the elementary schools just exposing kids what a career is, and like I have said to you before, that a firefighter, that's a career, not just a superhero type of a thing. Our counselors at the high school have taken over our ACP lessons that the students get once a month during their advisory time. So now they are more connected to the students in their post-secondary plans. And they get those once a month, like I said. Our graduation requirement of our Muck Ready capstone, our seniors present those in advisories. And then in a lot of our CTE classes, such as our tech ed classes and like our culinary classes, have moved away from final exams and more portfolios. So now, let's say a freshman going into a tech ed class will create their portfolio, and then every class that he takes or she takes in that pathway, they will keep building their portfolio. So now at the end, they are showing what they have done instead of just being able to pass an exam. Now they can pull it up and they can show a business partner what they did. And then each one of those students gets up in front of their classmates and they present on the work that they did as well. So it's been really well. We've presented building wide throughout some professional developments and teachers from other curriculum areas. We're really impressed with the work that the tech ed crew has done. So it's been pretty awesome, and now our culinary is also moving in that direction. This is the big one that you've seen me work on this last year, really expanding our community partnerships and our work and capstone experiences. So we have the digital job board that I partnered with Muskego with, and since in the last 6 weeks, Elkhorn, Oconomowoc High School, and Kettle Moraine all have joined on with this initiative now. So they are exposing their students to it and their business partners so that we can try to really broaden the reach to make it good for all students in Southeast Wisconsin, because let's say like Matt Galush at IDC is not only hiring Mukwonago students, he needs help, so he's hiring from all over the place, as is all of our industries in Mukwonago. So we're really trying to broaden that reach.
How are we getting the word out to the industries, to the businesses, that we have this job board available?
So 3 times a year we do a targeted mailer that goes out. On that mailer, it shows how to get in contact with us. It shows some fast facts, how many students we have getting certifications, how many students we have that take a work-based learning experience. I meet with businesses. We do a lot of social media. I know Ben has done a lot of different pushes on Facebook and on Twitter to get that out there. Anytime the parents come into the community, or the community comes into our high school, I know I'm presenting on these opportunities. Our counselors are talking about it, and then we have this pushed out to all of our advisories.
Are we dealing with any chambers?
Absolutely, yeah. So our chamber knows about it, and Muskego's chamber knows about it.
Waukesha?
And now I'm assuming these districts that are joining on to our initiative will start pushing it out into their chambers as well.
All right. So we're going to hit the other chambers, like the Waukesha, City of Waukesha chamber.
So Waukesha hasn't joined on yet, but we reach, so with our my targeted mailer goes out to a 12-mile radius from Mukwonago High School. So I reach many Waukesha businesses that are on this side of Waukesha, and it goes to every single LLC. So, and Vito, if you can help me, what's that other?
S-Corp.
An S-Corp, it goes to the S-Corp as well. So that is the way that I get into, because I can't get into every single business that we have in the area, but what I can do is I can send paper to them, I can send social media blasts, I can do that kind of thing. And then if they'll reach out, that's when I go and get, then I work with them. So like Superior Corn Corporation in Waukesha has been a great partner of ours since they've learned about this. So we've been working with them quite a bit. That's someone that I wouldn't have gone to right away because it's in Waukesha. It's hard for me to know where, because Waukesha also does a lot of these same initiatives. We're doing a lot of our offsite experiences are coming back to full strength. Our manufacturing and construction opportunities, some of our business and marketing experiences are coming back on track. However, with healthcare, we're still running into some road bumps there because they have some restrictions getting into the buildings. It was pretty good towards the end of the year, but a lot of the great experiences that we had planned for the winter kind of ran into some issues there. So we're hoping to get that back on track, but I'll tell you how I plan on doing that. This year I created my first on-site event with the Transportation Career Showcase. I know a few of you came to that. I think that was successful. We had over 1,000 students from Southeast Wisconsin from 6 different schools come to that. I plan on expanding on that type of a model with healthcare and bringing a healthcare expo to Mukwonago High School this next winter. So I can't guarantee getting into the hospitals and into the clinic settings, but I can guarantee putting something on at Mukwonago High School. So that's what we're going to try to do this year. I secured this morning, actually, with the Wisconsin Manufacturing Alliance to host a manufacturing event as well next March. So I'm going to hand transportation off to another school, I hope. I hope I don't have to put all 3 on, but if I have to, we will. It's only a benefit to our school because whichever school hosts, obviously can put the most students through that experience. But my goal, and working with Muskego a lot on this, is to, we'll build them and then hand them off and then rotate them around the school. So I did transportation this year, and I'm going to do healthcare and manufacturing next year. But then I can hand those off, and then I can bring building trade or skilled trades in, so that every 4 years our students are getting the most exposure to at least one of those big sectors. So that's the model that we're trying to build here. Yeah. So unlike some of the core curriculum areas that have a set schedule for when they renew curriculum, CT is always renewing, and whether or not they have any kind of planned curriculum hours, the teachers in the CT area are always trying to do what's latest and greatest and what's best for students to replicate what's going on in industry. So we're always looking to better our learning pathways and academy options. Manufacturing is getting some curriculum revisions this year to really get more advanced manufacturing to our students. Our Academy of Medical Professions completed year 2 this year with 86 students. I know many of you have come to some of those events. It's pretty impressive what some of those students are doing. I think 4 of our valedictorians were in that group, and it's really impressive to see what their future plans are. And then our projected enrollment for the 22-23 school year is 96, so we grew for the 3rd straight year. I think that's sort of a sweet spot. I don't know if we can really grow much more than that, but those teachers are rock stars, and they are knocking it out of the park. So the students are super excited about it, and obviously, rightfully so, with the amount of careers in healthcare that are available, high-paying careers. We have students making $24 an hour right now as a 16-year-old. So it's awesome. And then Stephanie and I are going to be working this summer with some interested teachers to explore a future educator pathway for our students. We have some teachers that are really excited about that pathway. And then the big thing that I kind of talked about in the beginning is that we really need, and Art had mentioned on this, is we need to increase our parent education about the pathways and the options for our students. While I do believe our parents know some of the programs that we offer, I don't know if all parents understand fully the opportunities their students have for their work-based learning options while they're in school to get credit and to get paid while still being a full-time student at our school. So that's something that I really want to try to keep pushing. More social media campaigns in our triad, the different shout points and things like that. Obviously, we wanted to create one central location for students, families, and staff to be able to access those off-site options with our digital job board. So I think mission accomplished with that. We have one set spot now. And then one of my major goals right here is to track our data better so that I can share with you just how many students we have in work-based learning experiences, how much they're getting paid, what's the average number of hours that they're working. I want to be able to show that because I think there's a little bit of a skewed message out there that our kids don't want to work, but I just don't think that's true. Our kids are working. There's just so many unfilled jobs right now that's the message. So I want to be able to better show that to our community, that our kids are working. They're putting in a lot of hours. They're getting paid high wages to really paint that picture for them. And we have a tool, Qualtrics, that we pay for as a district, and I know through that there are opportunities. I attended a conference last week that really shows how we can create dashboards with that. So that's going to be a goal of mine this next year, is to create those dashboards to really show you guys and to show our community and our parents all the great things that our kids are doing. So any questions?
I just want to say that transportation thing was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was exciting. I'm glad the weather held off literally to the last minute before it started raining.
That was cool.
You guys
So-
go to it next time. They had a lot of really cool stuff.
Well, we plan on building a healthcare one in the West Gym, so that'll be a guaranteed weather. Well, I shouldn't say that. It'll be in March, so hopefully the
Could be a
weather will
snowstorm.
cooperate. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. So, and the manufacturing one, we're looking at probably early April or end of March, sometime in there. And we've held one already at Muskego High School, so we kind of have a footprint for that. So we know we're going to grow that bigger and better this next year. So we're really excited for that one.
Any questions, anybody? Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you
Great
so much.
information. We appreciate it. All right, then I'm going to move us down to action items. We're going to start with appointments, resignations, and retirements.
All right, for appointments, we have Rachel Badura, grade 5 teacher at Clarendon Avenue Elementary. Holly Bodish, associate principal at Mukwonago High School. Daniel Fay, special education teacher at the high school. Rebecca Hilligenthal, speech and language pathologist for the district. Casey Holtman, English teacher at the high school. Eric Nauman, social studies teacher at the high school. Nicole Pades, special education, section elementary. Caitlin Ryan, she'll be a band teacher at a number of our elementary buildings. Bryn Rohde, associate principal at the high school. Sue Sterner, secondary math coach at Parkview and the high school. Rick Whitty, math teacher at the high school, and Kelly Young, grade 1, Big Bend Elementary, and Anna Adams, grade 2 at Prairie View Elementary School. For resignations, we have Amanda Coretta Hull, music teacher at Big Bend, Nyla Clement, music and band teacher at several of our elementaries, Daniel Cochran, social studies teacher at the middle school, Sarah Dianich, associate principal at the high school, Stephanie DeSalt, resource teacher at the high school, Alexandria Koenig, reading and math support, Katie Kozlowski, social studies, Ashley Miller, business and marketing at the high school, Katie Rosman, social studies at the high school, Lynette Schultz, English at the high school, and Keith Setz, math and computer science at the high school. We also have one retirement, Gene Woolridge, special education at the high school.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve these.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
I do want to jump in and we do have our 2 administrators that were joining to the administrative team with us tonight. So if you guys want to come up and join the table.
Yeah, we've already.
You met them already.
Yeah.
All right.
The first one is
Good
Ali
buzzkill.
Bodish. She's joining us as an associate principal at the high school. She just finished her 17th year of her time in education. She was a 7th and 8th grade math teacher while she was teaching, and then just was with us as Dean of Students for 3 years at Parkview Middle School. She got her admin degree from the University of Milwaukee. So we want to welcome Holly to the team. And then Bryn Rohde will also be joining us as an associate principal at the high school. Bryn just completed her 9th year in education. She's certified as an English as a second language teacher as well as a cross-categorical special ed teacher. And she recently, in the spring of this year, received her administrative degree for the University of Wisconsin-Superior. So welcome, Bryn. If you have any questions about any of the resignations, we can answer those in closed session.
Okay. All those in favor? Oh,
I would just like to say thank you to the 2 administrators that left, especially Sarah Dianich, because she has been a big part in my children's lives, and I wish her the best where she's going.
anybody else? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Steve's back. Motion carries. Now, 2022-23 WIAA membership.
So each year, the school board's required to approve our membership to the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association, or WIAA. Membership fees were again waived this year, and we have no changes to sports that are being offered at our schools.
I would like to make a motion, we approve this for this year again.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Craig, any comments, questions, concerns? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. We have staff handbook updates.
All right, during the 21-22 school year, a number of revisions and suggestions were brought to the school board and personnel. And so this is just a listing of everything that we talked about. We looked at additional leave for crisis situations for certified and support staff, use of sick leave when schools closed and travel remains unsafe throughout the course of the day, disciplinary action and how that would impact compensation, snow removal and overtime related discussions that if it does snow and there has to be removal, that would count as overtime and that folks would still continue to work their 40 hours as normal. And then also just to clarify that after the resignation, benefits are paid out to the end of August, which is current practice.
I would like to make a motion to approve the revisions to the certified and support staff handbooks.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Health insurance 2022-23.
All right, so I'll chime in here, and as all of you know now, that WEA made an announcement at the beginning of June to exit the health insurance market by the end of the calendar year. So we were faced with the choice of, do we stay with WEA, which would only give us 6 months to work with them, at which time we have to go out and find something else. So confronted with this choice, or the situation rather, we are looking to move, have the board take official action here to discontinue or to rescind our prior decision to work with WEA for the 22-23 school year and to remain with Anthem. So in Sean's memo there to the board there, he has some potential language you could use in your motion there.
I'll make the motion based on new information regarding WEA's announcements. To discontinue health insurance services, we rescind our action to move to the WEAA and will stay with Anthem for the 22-23 school year.
Okay, for
Second.
motion. Steve seconds. Any comments, questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Lillian Rose contract.
So after discussion on securing the Lillian Rose facility for SOAR again for next year, Sean was informed on Friday that there will be new owners of Lillian Rose, and they no longer wish to have SOAR run out of their facility. And so Andy has already been reaching out. We are looking for a new facility to house SOAR for next year.
So what do we,
Okay, so we don't actually need
action?
an action item here.
No,
We were going to reapprove that contract, but no longer, so nothing there. 4K rates of pay for our community partners.
Okay, so annually we look to establish a rate of pay that we provide to our community partners on a per student basis here. The finance committee is recommending that we increase this amount by $50 to $2,850 per student. So that's the recommendation from the finance committee. If there's any questions, I could take those now.
I make a motion to approve the pay rate for the 4K facilities.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on this one?
The discussion on this is that in the past, for when we went with the school bus drivers, when we gave the increase, we had put the intent that that money was to be used to pay the school bus drivers and not to go into the operation of the business. And so I have the same concerns with this, that when we give them this increase, that there is some way that we can be assured that this money is going to the educators, because the situation with the 4K is we are having a hard time retaining educators, and that it says in here so that we can better serve our students and having better teachers. So if this money does not go into their pay, I don't know that it'll do that. And so I wanted to be at the meeting, the motion had gone through prior to that conversation, so I was told to bring it up here at the full board.
Sure, Cherry. I did reach out and I'm working with Colleen Hoyne, our 4K coordinator there. We are already reaching out to our 4K community partners to ask not only how can we ensure that this additional funding can get in towards the pay of the 4K teachers, but there was also, I think, a question from Vito where we need to ask them also what would you need from our district to ensure that we are able to retain high quality educators in our 4K facilities. So kind of more or less asking them, what is it that you would need in order to ensure that we could retain high quality educators? So we have begun that process to do that. If there's something that the board wants us to do in the stipulation right now, I mean, I would ask that you take action now to tell us what you're looking for specifically.
I'd maybe amend the motion to give Tom you the leeway to work with those, the team, the group, and those providers to try to arrange for some of that money to get to the educators. Is that?
I think we can do that, Joel.
So are you making that motion?
Yeah, I said that.
I will second that amendment to the motion.
Did you have the original second?
Yeah,
He motioned it already. He just
He motioned it.
Dale. He just amended his motion that I think Dale.
I had the original. No, who? I don't know.
I made the
Erica?
motion, but Dale, I think,
Yeah.
second.
Okay.
So if Dale agrees to the amendment.
agree.
Okay. So that is to restate, giving Tom kind of the latitude and the leeway to make those discussions continue to happen to try and get that money to the staff. Okay.
Sherry.
clarification, that's good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And then approval of We Thinkers for 4K.
Yeah, so back on May 2nd, the Student Learning Committee recommended approval for the full board to purchase the We Thinkers curriculum, our resource, and I didn't put it on action items for the end of May, and so I informed Student Learning Committee I was going to be bringing that in June for approval.
I motion we purchase that curriculum.
Okay, I have a motion from Cherry. I will second. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this point, we are going to entertain a motion to head into executive session.
I would make that motion.
Second.
And Joel second, and then I'll have Cherry roll call us out.
Erica Connor?
Yes.
Bill Frederick?
Yep.
Gail Porter?
Yep.
Art Schneider?
Yes.
Peter Schwartz?
Yep.
Carolyn Simon excused. Craig Verts?
Yes.
Steve Waddles?
Yes.
Harry Winchowski?
All right, 2-minute recess if you need it.